stretch of time. And then when you're grown up, it's gone. It has this feeling that it should go on forever, but it just doesn't.
No time is like that, I feel. Anyway, sorry, you started.
So jump in.
Quentin, I think it's started recording.
Yeah, I'm just waiting to see if I actually get the preview to make sure, but I never know if closing that early makes a problem or not, but I guess it's probably fine.
In my experience, it doesn't. As long as the only time I've messed it up before is when in my hosts file I have blocked YouTube. But closing it immediately never actually gets rid or never causes an issue.
Okay, that's good to know. Okay, so we are live, and let me just try something here. Make sure everyone else is seeing things in the same order. So we're just gonna do our regular stand-up. Caroline, you are the first box, so do you want to go first?
So I guess my job has been to be pestering Jamie for reviewing that child support guidelines article. And I think the last time we met, I hadn't heard back from her, but then I did hear, she emailed me last Friday. She said, sorry, all last week I was jammed with the end of row stuff and the end of the grant year stuff. She says, I have time early next week to go over this all, but now we're at the end of early next week. So I just sent her another email just saying nudge, nudge. But I also I sent Hayden the unauthorized article just so that he could use the link, so he could get started with it. And I realized not only does she know everything, I forgot she was on the guidelines review committee. I mean, she was part of rewriting the guidelines. So it'd be really good to get her, final okay on it. So I don't know if it's going to go up on Mass Legal Help, but I figure the first thing to do is get it approved before I start pushing for putting it on Mass Legal Help. So that's my news. And just that I'm trying to finish up this grant project for the court here. And it's an A to J author thing, which they've just done huge updates on. But you know what? I really love DocAssemble. And that's all I'm going to say.
Fair enough. Yeah, it did look like they had a release with a lot of really cool new features.
Very good things.
Sharon.
Some of them are things that they had in A to J4 that they didn't have, that somehow A to J6 couldn't have. And some of them are DocAssemble-like things. I can't remember exactly what they were, but they did a lot of really good improvements. It makes it a lot easier. But you still have this issue of caching, which we have on DocAssemble too, don't we? I mean, sometimes you just have to refresh and refresh and refresh to get your changes to show up.
Yeah, although I think now I understand where it happens. It's just like with the playground when you change certain things. But yes, You're right.
Yeah. I wonder if that would make sense to I mean, I don't know enough what the pattern is, but that might be a thing to think about in the documentation, particularly for new DocAssemble developers, about what kinds of things that are going to, it's so frustrating. You make the changes and then you don't see the changes and then you do 15 more corrections and it's still not fixed, but actually you did fix it in one of those iterations and you don't know because of the caching issue. And that can make those poor little new developers crazy. And then I think also the shift, if you're in Chrome, that shift control I to get to developer tools to do a hard refresh, I think that would be a good thing to include in the documentation.
Interesting idea. Yeah, Caroline, as you run into things, because you're getting to start kind of over as a developer with these totally new forms, you're probably getting to see things that we don't see every day.
Yeah.
So yeah, we have our documentation page. There's the DocAssemble one. So
So she'll put that just in an issue then. Is that right? Should I do that?
Yeah, an issue works, or yeah, that's great. Yeah, or even if you're just writing them down and they occur to you,
Yeah.
can't hurt to have those ideas captured. All right, so Michelle, you are next for me. Thanks, Caroline.
Thanks. So I've this week, well, one is I took a look at some of those wireframes, Quentin, which are looking awesome, much more organized. And I think some will let people on different paths skip, from what I understood. It was unclear which ones people would skip under which circumstances, I think. And also kind of exit screens, like which I see on our current one that go, kick out screens rather. At least I saw one on the current Weaver, and I don't know if those are accounted for in the wireframes, but maybe they don't need to be.
Are you talking about like the kickout screen after you finish validating a PDF?
I don't remember anymore.
I think that might be the only
Lost
one.
the memory.
Yeah,
Okay.
my thought was to take it out, but it's just a wire.
I think it's where you validated a PDF, but it didn't come out as valid. Like one of my fields was not the right, was like blank or something. One of my fields labels was blank. And
We don't
so-
have that kickout screen in the Weaver right now, but what we have is when you finish reviewing it, we say if your job was only to review the PDF fields, you're done, you can stop.
No, that wasn't the one.
Yeah, that's the only exit screen we have in the Weaver, other than the end screen.
I don't know. Okay, I'll have to check on what I saw. Anyway, it's looking awesome. I left some comments, and the other two things are testing framework related. One is that and no worries, Bryce, I totally understand you're loaded with a bunch of other stuff that's going on. But I did make 2 PRs, one for addressing the reload problem, and how I did that was that the tests that fail will get rerun once each, and that when a reload server reload issue happens, the developer will be informed in the report why that test failed, so they can see if it passed elsewhere. It can be told that it will be retried. I think it's still a little confusing, and it's not the perfect solution, but it's impossible to tell. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out if there's a way to rerun the scenario right then and there, but from what I can tell so far, there isn't a way to do that. So that is the current solution for the reload server issue. Maybe this is stuff to discuss on the deep dive. So the other one is the first iteration of the random input testing, which is very MVP, but I'd like to discuss during deep dive how that works and see if it is sufficient as an MVP, if it would still be useful. So that's about it, I think, for the moment.
Great. Yeah, thanks, Michelle. Those are sounds like some awesome updates. Bryce, go to you next.
Cool. Yeah, I was gonna say I'm about halfway through the server reset PR, Michelle, but I'm just taking a while on it. Sorry. And I don't have too many concrete updates, just more e-filing stuff. I met with Matt for the Illinois appearance and nailed down like a few more things that we should change. and most of them I think I was able to fix sort of like yesterday and this morning. And so I need to just go through and make sure we have all the stuff, like make sure it is all good and do another double check of sort of like what Matt wants the style to be. And then we should be mostly ready to go on that interview, which is good. And I'm still, for the Massachusetts version of that, I'm still waiting on Tyler to get back to give me any sort of information on why I can't make an appeals filing, because their system is broken and it's not documented well. That's all I have.
Just to clarify, Bryce, like my audio is not that great today because of the computer being overloaded. Did you say that you found out that their system was broken, or is it still like we're not sure if there's an undocumented thing, or is which?
No,
way?
yeah, it's the same. It's the same situation. Like I had reached out on like last Thursday or Friday, and they said they would look into it, and I didn't get a response. And on Wednesday, I think I reached out again and was like, "Hey, any update on this?" And I like escalated it in their little case system because I was like, "Hey, any update on this? This is preventing us from actually doing anything now at this point." And no response still. So we'll see.
Okay. All right. Well, good to know. But yeah, it's good to know this will be our routine with Tyler, I guess. But of course, we're blazing new ground here, right? So maybe it won't be as hard for the next one.
Yeah, hopefully. I am hoping that it's like a Massachusetts undocumented thing, as opposed that like they just never had to deal with because they never had to deal with a third party filer in Massachusetts before. So we'll see though.
All right. Thanks, Bryce. Yvette.
Hey, well, I don't have anything like major updates this week. I'm still working on the content on the Mashpee interview, simplifying some of the questions so they're easier for the users to answer. And I got all the departments that were missing in one of the questions as well. So that's ready, and I'll just keep working on that.
Okay, great. Thanks. Thanks for that update. And I'm trying to see if there's any notes from David that he wanted me to ask, but I think you've covered it all.
David met with them. Was it this week or was it last? No, it must have been this week, right? Because he said, didn't he say he was going to meet with them on Tuesday or something?
Yeah, we met on Tuesday. Yes.
Oh, you were part of that.
Mhm.
Oh, that's good. That's great.
Oh, the Mashpee Wampanoag?
Oh no, sorry, no. I thought you meant like the students.
Oh, that's yeah. I meant the
Sorry.
Mashpee thing.
Mm.
David did say that. He said he was going to
Mhm.
try to set up a meeting, a joint meeting, and make sure that you could be part of it too when things were close enough to be able to demonstrate. So hopefully things are going there. Any blockers, Yvette, that you want a little help with today, or?
No, I don't think so. I still need to work on the signature. I'm not having it shown in the form, but honestly, I haven't sit down and try to work towards that. So maybe I'll just reach out to you guys in the code help channel and ask for help later
Sure.
next week.
I also have office hours from 2 to 4 today.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah, I'll make sure up there then.
Yeah.
Oh, what? Sorry, sorry. You finish. I just had a question that I forgot that I was going to ask.
No, I'm finished.
What happened with the signature? I mean, not multi-signature, but just the signature. I mean, do we have is Michelle, is your signature thing working so that I could use it to do when we get to that point to do retainers here at the court?
The multi-signature interview isn't abstracted yet.
What about the
So-
just regular? So, but I mean, if for a retainer, so say an attorney wanted to send something to a client or whatever, here at the court, that's all he could send it, they could sign it on their phone and send it back to him, right?
Quentin, I think that's still functional, right?
There's a tool I built for GBLS that they're still using today that could do
Yeah.
that. It's like pretty primitive, but it should work.
Right. Okay. And is that on Nonprofit Techie or where is that?
It's on the GBLS.
It's on GBLS.
Oh yeah. And the thing that's in there, it integrates a piece that talks to legal server, which you won't need.
Right,
But
yeah,
it falls back. If you don't have that, it will still work. It doesn't integrate with legal server. Legal server can send it data. So if it just
Oh,
doesn't
right.
receive the
Yeah.
data, it will just work as if it will ask you to type.
yeah, I remember that. That's what I was thinking of, but I wasn't sure, so it can do it with the signature. I mean, that would be cool if they could pull it from the court system. That would be sort of a starting inroad for e-filing, wouldn't it? It would be an opening of the court case management system, but that might be interesting to do that. So it's on GBLS. Is it just github.com GBLS?
That's right. Yes. All right. On my side, there are a couple of things I've been working on. One is we are trying to work on like a really specific task for the Form Explorer, which isn't possible yet in the current way it's set up. Bryce had found this neat tool called Data Set with 2 T's and an ending E, kind of like a Frenchified spelling of data set, I guess. Maybe it is French, not sure. And it is meant to it was meant as like a data journalism tool to let people see and explore just a data dump and play around with it in different ways. So it looks like really promising, actually. Like it looks like it might work really well for what we need to do. So I set up a first version of it really quickly, realized there's some different things we wanted to know about in the data set. David just sent those over my way on Wednesday. I haven't tried loading in the new improved data set yet. And the basic idea that we're trying to help people with, the query we want to let people run is if you're a court in Alaska and you want to redesign your fee waiver form, we want you to be able to run a search and see all of the fee waivers in the country so you can compare them to.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like a research project people often have, right, if they're on a form committee. So we're trying to think from that mindset and try to solve that use case. And I think now we have the tools to do it. Just got to figure out how to get them to work using this new project.
So, the other thing I'm saying, it's so funny that you're thinking about this because I know it was in the forms camp, right? I've been going to the forms camp and so I wanted to tell you about this anyway. So this week was like, they call them cabin sessions. They're like workshops. And the group that I was in, there were 2 different states showing it was the 209A, not the eviction form. Where did I see? Oh, I know. And I guess somebody else from the Alaska Court System was doing the eviction thing. But what I was thinking is, the eviction, I was comparing the Alaska eviction answer to our answer. And it's much simpler than our answer. And it just made me start thinking again about it. Because this whole thing about the big question versus the little questions. And the reason I'm talking about this is because I'm thinking if you're talking about looking at all the court forms, which I think is really helpful across the states. I wonder if it might also be helpful to, if you can do this, what's it called when you, it's not scrubbing, when you go to all the websites and you scraping. So, it would be interesting for people to, when they're looking at the different court forms, is also scrape LHI and look at the different A to J interviews, and then and then GitHub for DocAssemble interviews, because
we have a scraper for GitHub and DocAssemble already.
Sorry?
Yeah, we have a scraper for GitHub and DocAssemble already. We haven't done anything with it, but I have a little thing that downloads every.
Yeah. So that means if I'm looking for, so first of all, you've got the court form. So that's for courts designing forms. But then also, as more and more courts are starting to explore document assembly, is think about getting those examples for people, because there are people who are just really hesitant about document assembly. And even if you explain it to them, they still don't get it. But if they can actually see it, that would be really cool. So, I'm just throwing that out there if you're thinking about that. Those are a couple of other sources for people. The next step.
That is really interesting to think about. And I know that Law Help Interactive, their data is tagged with the NISME code,
Yeah,
but not the new version of NISME,
right,
but the original one.
right.
DocAssemble interviews that we find on GitHub will not be tagged with a code right now, but we should think about what
Yeah,
to get that metadata in.
I think we definitely should because they're growing, right? And it's
Maybe it
just
should be a
really-
standalone metadata file that we just create as a standard that goes into the GitHub repository.
Yeah.
I'll make an issue for it. Keep thinking about it. It's a great idea. But of course, the other thing we can do is run the text of the interview against Spot and see if we can figure out a code.
Oh, yeah, that would be, wouldn't it be, you could just automatically tag them. That would be very cool.
Yeah. And we do that right now. We could actually even make it so it makes a pull request on the repository to add the metadata file and say, hey, does this look right? Accept it, otherwise change it.
Oh, that is so cool, Quentin.
Well, I think we
What a
could.
thing, what a thing, a Friday morning thing.
Actually doesn't sound too hard, but
Well, it never does if you're not having to do it. I'm like, oh yeah, I'll put together the guided assistance for child support over the weekend. I'm still hammering it out, thinking, God, this is complicated. And it's not right now I'm working on the logic, which probably won't work in the display for Legal Navigator. I had to learn, I had to learn a whole lot more. Alaska does it differently than Massachusetts. So.
Yeah. I mean, I'm thinking about like, how could we make this file? And like one answer would be, we don't want to make people search through all of the YAML files in the interview, right?
Right.
So, but we also, if we want to make it in the Weaver and let people upload it to their own system, we need to put it in a specific folder DocAssemble knows about. So it'd probably have to go in the data sources file. Because otherwise they wouldn't
It
know.
can't go in the metadata block.
We already have that. So the question is if that's enough. You'd have to scan all the YAML files in the interview to see that data block.
Hmm.
Maybe that's good enough.
Might be good enough.
Why wouldn't
It's
that
a lot
be
more
good?
scanning.
You just have to
'Cause
scan.
it's a lot more scanning. It's the difference between like being able
Oh,
to like
that's true.
look at just look at all the files in
One
your
place instead of
folder.
15, depending on
Yeah.
the complexity of the interview. Yeah.
I mean, we could have a file called metadata.yaml.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, I thought
But
you said
It
something
would be
else.
another file people would have to update and maintain if they're like, oh, actually we have the wrong code. It's more like this code.
Hmm. True.
I think that's cool, the idea of doing a pull request and then people can accept it or not.
Okay. Well, anyway, not everyone will have pull requests turned on, but if they did, they're probably ones that they would be happy to share with us. So the other thing that I've been working on is the Weaver. So I've just been working through some like low hanging fruit and making a lot of small pull requests to interrupt Bryce's workflow and have him review them. So Bryce, thank you for reviewing this. There's one test failure that I can't figure out yet. Maybe I'll look at it closer because now I realize it is which test was failing. I might be able to figure it out, but if Bryce, if you look at that's one of the unit tests, which I think you wrote, maybe I should be able to figure it out, but really.
Yeah, I can
I wasn't able to get the test to run locally, which is a pain. So
Yeah, that is annoying. I'll have to. It should be running locally, or it should run locally fine. I'll make sure that it was at least is working for me fine, and it's not something inherently messed up.
okay. Yeah, no, my problem with running it is probably because I'm running it on Windows subsystem for Linux, and it's just really hard to install DocAssemble in that environment. So I was just not having luck doing it other than in Docker. Docker, it works fine, but it does not work great from the regular Python environment. There's lots of things that have complex build requirements. Anyway,
This looks like it looks like the same issue. I don't know why this PR would trigger it, but at a glance, it looks like the same issue we had a while back with somehow it's calling config load, like docassemble config load, which tries to do a bunch of stuff that assumes it's running on the server. And if it's not running on the server, it calls like exit. And
Oh.
so I think we made there's just something up with that. I don't know how it's changed or what changed in this particular VR. I can take a close look there, but it does seem like something we have solved before, but I don't remember if we actually solved it or if we just avoided the problem by not calling that function. So
Oh, okay. So maybe it just, I did. Yeah, maybe something I'm doing ends up calling a lower level docassemble function that triggers that.
yeah, I think that's probably what it is. I don't know where exactly that is though, so I'll have to take a look. But I can do that.
Oh, okay. Maybe it's because of the docassemble validate template files now. It has a full import of all of the, we were importing docassemble.base.util, the whole thing. That probably is what it is. In order to get the list of reserved keywords.
That's fair. I feels wrong that simply importing it should break, but maybe it is. So
That is my guess. Now that I see that. So maybe we have to try to wrap that in some kind of thing. I don't know. That's the new thing. That's the big difference in this one.
Yeah.
So it's not actually broken when you run it for real, but we're gonna get this error if this is merged every time.
yes, that's fair. I would like to be able to run independent Python tests, so I can look at it closer and see if there's a way
Okay.
around.
Okay. Well, that was really helpful to talk through. And then the last thing is part of why I was working on these little mini issues for the Weaver was to try to do the Weaver redesign and have like a, well, anyway, I don't want to like, yeah, I was trying to triage some stuff before we did a bigger project and thinking about which things really fit in the redesign. Michelle already looked at it and she already referenced it, but I don't know that anyone else besides Bryce has seen it. So I'll just do like a little show and tell of what it is. I took all of the screens from the existing Weaver and I took all of the questions we ask on every screen of the Weaver. And I just tried to do like a simple card sorting. So this is like a really low fidelity way to think of
This is
what
the Trello thing you're talking about, yeah.
This is on Trello, yeah. I'll link this board to everybody.
Got it in Teams. I think, didn't you put it in Teams?
I did put it in Teams, yeah. So if you want to look at it and try to tour through it, this will just be a way to explain what it is. I won't go through it now. It took like Bryce and David and I went through it and it took like about 45 minutes to go through. I might try to block off a time to do it that way as a focus group with people again, but I won't try to do it right now. But I was thinking one really kind of simple feature that I wanted to add is in that data set that David gave me, I have a URL to every state court form.
Every state court form?
For 26 states.
Oh,
So we could download those PDFs and let people select them as the starting point for using the Weaver. And before I did that, I just wanted to try a new interface for the front screen of the Weaver that set off the different tasks you could have on the first page. So I'm just curious if people have immediate feedback with this. I might just implement this screen now if it kind of seems like a good fit to people and start working on this feature because it's basically ready to go from the data David sent me.
It looks great. I like it. I don't know if find my form is ready, then sure, you know.
what, is there a way for people? This kind of goes back to the other thing I was saying is that, you know, also being able to scrape and finding document assembly projects that people have done. So I mean, I don't So, I mean, obviously states work differently, but I can imagine in some states, somebody, even within the court system, has already started or has already done a document assembly of that court form.
Mhm.
And somebody else this idea of two people working on the same project, with no, in isolation. And I'm wondering if there's a way to say, has anybody else? So maybe this is not privacy per se, but if there was some sort of record of, oh, this form has been automated already.
Interesting.
And if you pick a form, did so-and-so's already working on this? Do you know that? Or something,
Could you try making kind of a matchmaking thing
Yeah.
that's run every now and then that just compares GitHub form names and makes an issue?
Well, and the thing is that the form name, that's the tricky, people might be calling it different. I mean, because it's the actual,
Yeah, but how else
maybe
can
the
you
URL,
automatically?
maybe something like the URL, like if people are, I mean, how's the library, did you download, where are all these PDFs? They're just URLs, right?
There is a version of the PDF that we're storing on the Form Explorer webpage right now. So, and then there's an original.
Yeah. I mean, it was just something to think. I mean, it's occurring to me now because I'm just thinking, how often does that happen that people are working on the same thing and they don't know about it? And that would be, I mean, it's kind of related to what I was saying before, but so that either people can collaborate or they can both, like I'm in theory working on the Massachusetts financial statement. Well, they do have a student working on it now in Tyler. Because I talked to Erin Harris, who's the new, did you meet her? She's the new access to justice coordinator at the courts. I met her in the forums camp on whenever it was. And Meg DeMarco isn't there anymore. I mean, she's in the courts, I guess, but she's moving to a different position. So I asked Erin about the Vietnamese 209A thing, saying, they don't match. Can you do something about this?
Okay, so they're working on a Tyler guide and file form for
financial statement. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, the thing about Tyler guide and file is that those projects don't tend to get finished in most states. There are some states that have done a really good job with that.
I know.
But
I know. That's why I'm still, in a way, in my head, pursuing this.
Yeah.
And now I can justify it because I could definitely use the bit that I was working on with Michelle for child support guidelines worksheet in here.
Oh, well, anyway, so yeah, maybe that's good to know. So like if I build this feature, I can use this front screen for it. People
I like that.
You can change the images, obviously, but yeah. But it's like a first. Yeah, we don't have to get everything. It's like a one. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. This is really nice, Quentin.
Yeah, thank you. Just
the other thing about your Trello, I was thinking, is that for people, I mean, you have this introduction to the Weaver as well, but I think it's really, for me, I like just seeing the cards in the Trello. It helps me think about how the Weaver works. I mean, it's metadata, but you're using it as a tool. And I know that you're putting that also, that's this information is also, you're putting it into the Weaver so people understand it. But it's very cool to look at how this all lays out,
That's a good point. This could be like a way to think about what are the features of the Weaver in a way that's different. And actually, now that I think about it, it's like, this is how many questions there are in the Weaver total. So regardless of how many screens there are, we have, it takes like 70 questions to build an interview. Right.
And it because the thing is, you don't really realize how long it's going to take you to get through the Weaver when you do it soup to nuts. And so it's with all of these things, it's like we say, this is how long it's going to take. And you can't really say this is how many pages that, I mean, So seeing it laid out like this is really helpful.
Well, yeah. So any feedback people have would be great. And like, there are a lot of questions, specific questions I would ask at a workshop. Maybe I don't know what they all are yet, but things like, should this field go early or at the end? Should it go on this screen or this screen?
Yeah.
I don't really know how to take this and let people do their own card sort, or if that's helpful or necessary.
I've just been
Oh.
reading comments, but I
Comments are
how that
perfect.
would be
Yeah.
useful.
We could probably also put on like, come up with stickers or something.
Yeah.
I don't know how to let people vote
Wonder-
on cards. There's not
I
really.
wonder if, I mean, it's probably a lot of work, but people are using that Miro
Yeah.
whiteboards. Whether, because I don't know if you can do that. I mean, in Trello, you can copy the board,
Yep.
can't you? And then
That
you
would be a
can
way to do it. Yeah.
manipulate it, but there's probably no way of comparing the two boards, and that's really what you want to see, right? You want to have your board unmovable, I mean, editable in that people can make comments on it, but you don't want them moving the stuff around.
Yeah, I wish
Um,
these were forkable, sort of, but also that doesn't
there's
make
no-
They
them
are,
visible.
they are.
Yeah, but that doesn't make them visible. Like, I wish you could have like a second row or something.
Yeah,
in the
That would
but
be
same
that's what I
board.
was thinking, whether that Mira thing, I don't know if that would work, and it's a pain in the neck to copy all, I mean, you've done all those cards, you don't want to do them again in Mira.
Well, I thought about it because I saw after took your advice to watch Margaret's presentation.
Oh,
from-
yeah, it was good, wasn't it?
Yeah, I thought that was really good. And I think she used Miro really well. But I
Yeah.
decided I don't know how to use it well enough to start having that be the tool. So that's why I
Yeah,
just,
yeah,
and I've used Trello for card sorting before, and it works really pretty well for that specific
Mhm.
thing, but it's harder to get the whole visual sense of the project. Miro is better for like a visual
yeah.
to see
Yeah.
it screen by screen. I mean, the other thing I thought of is, should this be in one of the web dev tools people use to lay out interface prototypes? But again, I don't use those now, so it's not close enough to a tool I know to use
Yeah.
really well, that it would be saving time. But I think you're right, though. I mean, I think once we have like kind of the basic idea for how to structure the screens, then we can start doing it in real code and people can give feedback right
Uh-huh.
there. But
Mm.
yeah. But for now, this is something. But yeah, I agree.
And the question too is, it'd be interesting, I mean, I don't have an answer to this, but would it be more useful for people to have gone through the Weaver once and then look at it, or look at it? I sort of feel like they need to have done it once before they look at the Trello. So because,
I feel like they need to do it a few different times to see the different paths that are possible, but yeah.
well, I guess, but it's just so that they get a feel of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, because, it's really hard. It doesn't matter how smart people are. It's really hard to convey information that's not experienced. I mean, just to look at something abstractly, theoretically. I mean, well,
Yeah.
convey it, but also understand it,
Yep, yep.
That's a good point. If I'm going to try to do workshops, like how, but but a lot of the people who I was thinking of asking on one of our Monday calls for people, and they will have used the Weaver before.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So-
Well, that's all I'm saying is that it's, I think you want people to have used it. I was sort of thinking out loud, but I think they need to have a little bit of experience with it. So
Yeah.
I think their feedback would be a lot more relevant if they'd actually had experience with it. It's, in a way, I think it's analogous to writing an interview. And you can do your interview in a Word document. And then when it comes to actually putting the questions and the logic and everything into the interview, you really make huge changes because of the flow.
Yeah,
So,
that's true. Yeah, some of the things won't make sense. Like voice, yeah, it's hard to do. Like, yeah, the paper version, but the real version is often a big gap.
mhm.
Okay, well, there is like one more thing I'll say that I've been working on, which is trying to keep improving the review screen generator for existing forms. So yeah, I'm just gonna try some things to see if I can make it handle things like lists and generic questions a little bit better specifically. There are also a couple of bugs that I've caught recently when trying to use it. So edge cases that it doesn't handle right with different kinds of question blocks. But there's not really a lot to say about it. It's just something I'm working on.
Is
Nice.
the summer cohort, is it just, are you teaching over the summer, or the summer cohort is what you're teaching?
Just the summer cohort is
Yeah.
just the people that you've seen on these stand-ups.
Mhm.
Actually, it's just Yvette and Hayden right now. So,
Yeah.
because we had one more person who finished yesterday.
Oh,
Yeah, small team this summer.
big change from a couple of years ago.
Yes. For sure. All right, well, I'm going to stop the live stream unless there's anything else anyone wants.